Let's make here a small list with the data types we already know. Data types for variables. One of them is int, integer. And on an integer variable, we can store a number that has no decimal point, like this one. Then we know float. Float can hold numbers that do have a decimal point. For example, that one. I want to clarify, sometimes I may talk about this point here as comma, because depending on the country where you go to school, we talk about 123,7623. But this symbol is always a dot in processing. So you never write here a comma, because this wouldn't work. If I try to run this program, it will say, hey, maybe I'm missing semicolon. No, it's not a missing semicolon, it's a dot. Okay, third variable type we know is string. We can say string name is rows, for example. So a string is a sequence of characters, and we surround them by double quotes. We can print any of these values, print ln x, print ln y, print ln name. And if we run the program, we get all these down here. We also had a look at the data type pimage we used for loading images and storing them in memory. I'm not gonna go too deep into that now. So I want to talk about a new data type called color. And you can easily imagine what could you store inside a variable of type color. A color, of course. So to define the variable of type color, you type color and then the name, for example, orange, and you make that equal to a color. So how can you express here a color? One way would be to use the color selector and search here for a color, and I copy this with Ctrl C and I paste it here. So this way I'm storing this color, which is this sequence of numbers and letters here, into a variable color. Now I can use this color anytime I want. I could say here background orange instead of typing the red, green and blue values. And if I run the program, the background is orange. Let's define here another color, color blue. Oh, blue is a reserved word. So I'm going to say nice blue. And that's going to be equal to color selector, this one here. Ctrl C, and I paste it here with Ctrl V. And now I can use this nice blue. I'm going to use a fill color of nice blue, and I'm gonna draw an ellipse in the center of the screen with size 6060. And let's make it a little bit nicer, so I'm gonna call here smooth and no stroke. So now we should have an ellipse with this nice blue in the middle of the screen, and there it is. We can also print these colors the same way we print other variables. Instead of print ln x, I'm gonna say print the orange color and print the nice blue. And I'm gonna get rid of the name. So let's see what is processing printing when I'm asking him to print these colors. And you can see the colors are just represented by numbers. So you don't see down here any colors, it's just a number. So we have just discovered a new data type called color. And I want to show two more ways you can tell processing about colors. One is this, with this expression you get from the color selector. Another way would be, I'm gonna type here, color white is color 255, 255, 255. So this color here is a function. And this may sound a little bit confusing because this is a data type and this is a function. They are called exactly the same way. If we go here to help reference, you can find actually color two times. The first time is here under the section of color. There's color settings, color creating and reading, and down here is the color function, which creates colors for storing in variables of the color data type. And if you scroll down here, you will find here, together with int, float, here's string, and you can see here there's also color. And this color without parentheses is a data type for storing color values. So don't worry if you don't get the difference right now, just let's see how we can use it here. We just always type this color in front of the variable. And if we want to construct a color, then we use color and parentheses. By default, these are the red, green, and blue values. And remember that we can use color mode HSB. And in that case, this would be the hue, saturation, and brightness. So we have found here another way to define a color using the color function. And we could use again this white color now anywhere. Instead of calling here stroke, I'm going to say stroke white instead of typing here any numbers. And let's make it a bit thicker. So stroke weight 4. And let's run the program. And now we should have, you can see the white stroke, the nice blue fill, and the orange background. The program actually becomes easier to read when you're typing these names instead of just typing numbers. Remember that before we discovered this color data type, what we would do is just type these numbers directly in the function. So we could type here background and this thing, but most people wouldn't know if this is orange or pink. And the same way we were able to type here stroke 255, 255, 255, but it's much easier to read if you have here stroke white. And in the next episode, we're going to see one more way to read colors, or one more way to define colors. And that is, instead of we telling processing what the color is, like here with this expression or defining the red, green, and blue value, we can ask processing to have a look at the screen and tell us what is the color for a certain pixel. So we can ask processing, hey, what is the color for pixel 100,60? And then you would get back a color. And that will be actually the first time we read something from the display. Until now, we have been always writing on the screen. We have been using different tools like point, line, ellipse, rectangle, images. We always added stuff to the screen. But now we're going to read the screen using the get function.